Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Aspie Bridge. I missed you last week, but I was in the middle of transitioning into a new studio. You can see the video is so much better now. And I'm so glad I can be with you here again. This month, through the end of June, we are doing relationships, love and relationships. And what do we get when we get love and relationships? Sometimes we get the most support and loving kindness and wonderful, empowering words, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we get into the people that haven't quite found their filter, or they think their filter is acceptable for all. Well, as you and I know, as autistic individuals, many of us are highly sensitive individuals, which means that words mean so much to us. The way someone says something can make or break how we feel about ourselves. And we're already challenged enough in society. We really don't want those around us to make us feel disempowered as well. So we'd love to have those people. But for some of us, we just haven't come from that background that understands us well enough. And I have a wonderful guest today who is going to help you find another way than punching the pillow or getting mad or throwing things to bring out that release of stress. And I love it because I've been using that for the last 4 months when I was in my challenging time. And I know the value of it. But before we go there, with all the awesome autistic individuals out there who are telling you what the traits of autism are on YouTube, such as Paul McLeod in Australia, Ryan Kelly in Australia, Samantha Stein in the Netherlands, Sarah Hendricks in the UK, Temple Grandin here in the US, and so many others that are telling you what the traits of autism are. I decided that what we really need, especially those of us who are at the level 1 autism level, where we are independent, we do want to interact with society, but we just need those extra skills. And I have bridge builders. The mission of the Aspie Bridge is to connect you with wonderful people such as Rae Luskin and all the guests that came before her, all the guests that will come after her, and know that I can connect you with each of them depending on your need, so that you can feel confident. Now, some may think that's ableist ideas. I'd like to think of it more as brave thinking. Do you have the courage, the resilience built up within yourself to put those stories aside and go forward back into society, knowing that we can help you? We're bridge builders. I am your torchbearer. I've been through these experiences, so I understand what you're feeling. But for now, let me let Rae Luskin tell you a little bit about herself and why she thinks that she can be a help to the Aspies who would love to go back into society. Rae, welcome, and can you tell us about yourself?
Sure. I'm an artist, an author, a creative mindfulness coach, or mentor, I say, rather than coach. And I have spent most of my life, I was wounded. I had trauma, just whatever your trauma is, whether somebody disrespected you for your autism, didn't hear you, didn't know who you are. And I had trauma in my life. I was sexually abused as a child from 7 to 13. I didn't tell anybody. I kept this big secret. And, eventually, my 20s, I went into therapy, but I wasn't getting better, and I'm not dishing therapy, but I was still in victim mode. And, we need to find, and I really, when I was 35, I wanted to kill myself. I just couldn't take it anymore. I said, this is horrible. I can't live this way. And I made a list of all the horrible things that happened to me, over my life. And I stopped at 88 and I said, okay, that's enough. And then I made a short list of what was great. And that was my kids. And I made a decision. I made a choice that day. I would do anything in my power to heal. And so I started, and I became a self-help junkie. I traveled all over the country and the world looking for healers. I was like, what? And that was the place where I was starting, because I was still in victim mode. I was like, oh my God, I can barely move. And I was always looking outside myself in the beginning for tools, for help. And eventually one day I actually had crayons in my house. Yeah, I had 2 young kids. And I just sat down and I took a crayon and I started to scribble. I mean, the black crayon like this, and it's all over the page. And I'm just like, it was like a river of pain just left me. I was like, oh,
Mm.
wow. And I kept, it was 10 minutes, and then I started doing it every day. And then I found, like, people say, did you lose weight? You look happier, something different. I'm like, oh, people could actually feel the difference in me because I was actually expressing the anger, the fear, the sadness, the rage, whatever it was on that day. And it made such a huge difference in my life. So I started cultivating and working on this. And, I studied all over and worked with different people. And eventually, I developed my own program. I had an art school called Art and Soul Connections. And originally I started just, doing traditional, I'll teach you how to draw. And then I realized, no, I need to teach them how to process. It's not,
Oh, yeah.
it's not about the product. It's about processing whatever you're feeling. So I worked with kids, adults, victims of abuse, and did that. And I did that for a long time. And part of that work was also with autistic children, who didn't have a vocabulary. They had no way to speak or share their thoughts. And so I gave them permission and I gave them new tools, So one of the exercises, and I don't know if you want to do it now, we can just, it's very simple.
Yeah, let's do it now. I have my paper.
Okay. I don't know if you have pen or crayons or whatever.
I have a pen with me right here. I
right.
normally have a bunch of other stuff with
I
me.
do too. So, you just take a piece of paper, and I'm just going to use this pad here, and pick up a pen, and you're going to put in your non-dominant hand.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, because it's going to access other parts of your brain. And you're just going to start scribbling and just close your eyes. So there is no wrong. How can you be doing anything wrong? Because people are like, oh, I have a piece of paper. I need to be an artist. No, you don't. If you close your eyes and you're using non-dominant hand, you can take off all the judgment. So,
Oh, and you don't think, I mean, I tend to find that I think about when I'm writing, but it's just a scribble. Is that what
yeah,
it
so
is?
just scribble. There's nothing you have to do. I'm just using, now I try and use my, my whole hand. Some people just use their fingers, and you just scribble. Now, normally when I do this like in a real classroom setting, we'll take like 15 minutes because then we will take a second color, and you're using color in this case, and you would scribble again on it, and then with your other hand though, this time. So, and then you would color. And I'm going to ask, how many of you color inside the lines? And usually it's 95% of the people that raise their hands. And then I'll ask them to color outside the lines. So it's, again, it's giving you permission to be different. It's giving you permission to express what you're feeling. And it also, it works on the brain in a collaborative format. You're using your left and your right brain. So that is the simplest way and expressing of this. There are other activities I do, but I always love to do that. I'm going to ask you to there's another, I'm going to show you something else that is another way to do this. Hold on. So, so what you can do, this is called, okay, let me find it. I know I have drawings here. I took out all my stuff to show you. So it's like, I'm overloaded with examples. Give me one.
No, this is good. Examples, visual. We love.
Okay. So one of the things you
love
can
to see
do
different ideas.
is you can do this with your body. So you can ask your body. So I'm going to ask you to do this. Close your eyes for a short little grounding meditation. And just notice your toes. Notice your feet planted on the floor, in your shoes, on the earth. Just notice how you feel. Now, bring your awareness up to your ankles, your calves, up to your shins and to your thighs. Just notice how you feel. And continue up your body, your pelvic area, into your stomach, to your chest, to your heart area. Notice your fingers. Wiggle your fingers for a minute. And shake your hands. You just do a little this. What do you notice? Do you notice any tension in your arms or your shoulders, where do you carry your tension? I tend to do it in my neck and shoulders and my jaw. So, just notice where it is and just pay attention. Now breathe for a minute. You breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth like a straw. Do that again. And one more time. And just notice what you're noticing. So if you're tense and you feel tension, and it doesn't have to be a big stress, a little stress, I know you just moved. So how does that feel like in your body? Where do you feel it? Could be anywhere, it could be you just listed all these boxes and so what I want you to do is think about, where is it in your body? What shape is it? What color is it? Is it hot or cold? And then you just scribble it. And that's the way to do it. So this was one I did. That was my shoulder was giving me a lot of pain. And so that was it. And you don't have to be an artist. You can just scribble it, And what I suggest then is to ask your body, to ask that part of you, what do you need? What is it that you need right now? What are you here to tell me? And wait for the answers, because I believe the answers are there. We are connected to the infinite. And if we get silent and we allow the answers to come, they will come. And, you can think about that. You're talking about how this month is about relationships. Think about that with the relationship you're having. What does that look like or feel like? And is it, are you flowing or are you constricted? Where is it in your body? And have a dialogue with that, because it may give you answers to, maybe you need to stand up for yourself. Maybe you need to set boundaries. Maybe you need to let someone go. There's so many ways you can do this. I've done different ones where I've combined hearts, and it's a simple drawing. It's a doodle. It's not anything. So let me see what I can do. Okay. So this one
I can share with you with what I was coming up with. Is I
Okay,
feel it in my stomach, and it's like a big empty hole, but it's a pink hole, and it's a call for a really warm, heart-centered hug.
Yes, I
And
love
it's
that.
just like, I mean, that's where I feel a lot of it lately is just that wanting for that nice warm hug. And some people give you such a
Yeah, wimpy hug. I get it.
and there are some
Do you spend time every day hugging yourself? It's a really good thing to do.
I'll have to think of that.
Think about this, and you just can rub your arms up and down. Why don't you do that now? And say, I love you. I love myself. I love you, Suzanne. I love you, Rae. And just say that a few times. Then, go ahead.
I love you, Suzanne.
Yeah. And you could do this in front of the mirror. I believe in mirror work as well. But I do this every day. Then I think about the other people in my life who are part of my, my children, my grandchildren, and my girlfriends. And I love them. Then I picture them and and I'm just still doing this, sending hugs out to them. Then the third level is thinking about, there may be somebody who you just had a short conversation. I talk to people all the time on the beach or when I'm in the grocery store, and they smile and I like that. And imagine them and give them a hug. Now, the hardest one is for those, the next one is hugging those who drive you crazy. I know we were talking about parents and some of that before, and, but if you can extend that hug, because if we are all born into love, we are all loving, and they may not have the answers. They may not be able to give you what you need, but if we can extend that love to them on some level, I think that changes things in the universe, that when we are extending love.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I saw the change in just 4 months with my mom.
Right.
Giving love even when the words were hard to hear.
Right. So I do that every day. And then I also think about my past generations, my ancestors and those coming after me. So it's about us loving ourselves enough to then share that love with others. And I think that's really important in any kind of relationship, that, and especially when you're having struggles, it's like, and there are things that I've done, forgiveness mandalas. Do you know the term mandala? I've been using it without sharing it. Okay, so mandala is a sacred circle for everybody else who doesn't know. And,
Yes.
you can put yourself in there, other people, you can, usually it's very geometric, but I don't necessarily do the geometric ones. I just use the sacred circle for, that kind of thing. But yeah, there's so many ways, creative ways to deal with your feelings, your relationships, and what are you hoping to get out of them, and it's like, so I have a little forgiveness exercise, if you don't mind me sharing with you.
Sure, by all
Okay.
means, because we know that that's gonna be the start of getting us toward moving forward. Otherwise, we do stay in that victimhood. And when we can find someone, and we need to remind people, forgiveness is not for them.
Right.
Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is so that you can move forward, understanding what came in the past can stay in the past. Not forgotten, but stay in the past. But go ahead, let's do this
Perfectly
forgiveness
said.
exercise.
And one of my favorite teachers is Dr. Luskin from he's out in California, but no relationship, but he does a lot of work on forgiveness. So yeah, in this case, I would have you draw a circle, and in the circle, you are going to put the person who you're angry at. And it could be yourself. So oftentimes we have to forgive ourselves. I didn't do this the best I could or whatever. And put yourself or the person you're angry at, and then write down, like it spokes on a wheel, all the things that, quote, they did to you, that you feel that they've done to you, that you haven't been respected, or, that kind of thing. I love this. It's so spontaneous. I had not thought about doing this at all before.
No, this is sometimes how a podcast goes.
Yeah.
Is okay, I just started with 4. I did loves to project her problems onto others, disempowers, wants you to stay small, not grow, hurtful words, and hard to love at times. I mean, physically love. She just doesn't want to be touched at times. And so those are the 4 things that really hit on me these last 4 months. Now, I have to tell you that with some time, a lot of it dissipated, but some of it will still be a part of her personality.
Yeah, so there's a part now where I would have you close your eyes and imagine you're having a conversation with her with your ideal outcome. What is it you would love her to say to you? What would you ideally like to say? Because oftentimes we're afraid to say our truth, and it's a very rare person who has the courage to just let it all out. But this is a way to start dealing with that. And, say to her what you want, and then imagine her talking back to you. How did that feel?
It felt like I was wanted. A lot of my things that came to me were, I'd love to go. I'd love to do things with you. Because sometimes I have to go to her house just to have time with her. And my feeling was, what kept on coming to me is, I would love to go, Suzanne. I would love to go on a picnic. I'd love to go on a trip. I'd love to go. And it meant that she wanted to take her time to spend time with me.
That's lovely. So now I would suggest that you collect pictures of you smiling with her, pictures of picnics, things that you imagine doing with her. So now you have a visual image of what it would look like to actually have the relationship you want.
Let me get clarification. You mean
Sure.
find pictures of when we did do those
Well, if
things,
you have
or
pictures
just
when you were happy with her, and you may never have been, so there's that possibility. But if you find one picture where you're smiling, that you feel loved, and it may not have been with her, but with your friends, put that in the middle of your
okay?
new mandala that you're going to create, where you're going to put that in the middle, and then around it, put all these images of things you'd love to be doing with her, and it still becomes a vision of what is possible.
Mm,
Focus on.
I like that. I'm a scrapbooker, so that
Oh,
means a
perfect.
lot to
Okay, so
me.
you get it. I mean, that's the kind of thing. And there's works, I've done a lot of work with affirmations, and there's all these other tools, but just as we're talking, because of the relationship piece, this somebody else can do whoever they're having an issue with, whether it's their husband or a sister, maybe. I mean, for many years, my sister and I didn't talk, and then we started to talk, and we figured it out, we worked it out. But I had to have an image of what would that really look like, and
Mhm.
what did I want? And then we found out we had all these interests together, and we've been on this metaphysical journey and healing journey together. I was like, oh my God, it's wonderful, But I wanted a soul sister, not just a physical sister,
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So that was what I did, those kinds of tools. That's part of my toolbox.
That's great. Well, one of my toolboxes is along the same line, is when I first started knowing there were problems, I created a therapy scrapbook. And it was more words, pictures and words of accepting who I was, but accepting one page I had just questioned why I had on a piece of paper, and then I flipped it over and I'd ask all such sorts of questions of why. So my work with some of my ladies would be depending on what their special medium is, because some people like to write, some
Right.
people like to do art, some people like music. I said, find music. Okay,
Right.
what are you showing us
So
there?
this is a case where I started writing underneath. I did my writing first, and then I did scribbles over it. So
Oh, okay.
you can do that. In this case, it started, I was in a place of, okay, I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm supported, I'm curious. And because I wasn't feeling it. So I started writing everything as an I am statement. So yes, I use words all the time. When I showed you this, there's all this writing because I always
Right.
write. It's journaling is part of it. It's not just scribbles and doodles. It's journaling, it's words. It works, whatever works for you. Now, I also took dance therapy for a year, which was another way to express myself, and like, oh, wow, I can move this, I can do that, because I was stuck in my body and I didn't know how to really release a lot of it that was there. So I started playing with hula hoops and ribbons. I was like, oh, wow. So creativity comes in all forms. You do not have to be an artist, traditional art. It could be in photographs. It could be in the way you cook, garden, any of that. So I want to tell you, everybody is creative. And
Yes.
it is a mindset. And as long as you say that to yourself, and like you said, music, before we got on, I was dancing. I know dance changes my energy and raises my vibration. So these are all tools that I talk about when I do my work. And this has led me to the next part of my life, which I mentioned to you before. I quote retired 2 years ago and realized, okay, I have a lot more to do. God gave me another thing to do. And that is I'm in the process of creating a social impact docu-series called Creative Activists Turning Pain to Purpose. From my background, whatever trauma, and it could be you lost your home, you lost your partner, it could be you're sick, the tools are the same. And that's what I realized. So I want to have this docu-series where I don't talk about the pain as pain, but I talk about the tools that we use to heal. And that includes advocacy as well, because I believe service is a huge part of any kind of turning trauma to triumph. It is more than when you
Yes.
can give back and make a difference. I think that's huge. And so I've been, for me, again, it's, my own challenges of figuring out how do I do this and let go of the how, because I start one way and then is that really the way? And then you get skeptical. And then I like, am I sabotaging myself? Am I being too critical? I mean, It's all that kind of stuff. And so we are all faced with that, whatever part of our lives. But I do believe we all have a story. And I want to share stories where people have turned their lives around. They've been from victim to victor, turned pain to purpose. That's the stories that interest me. And just like your story, I mean, it's powerful and it makes a huge difference. And now you've got a community that's listening to you and you're becoming their expert and their voice of sharing healing tools. That's what I want to do. I want to be that resource that people come to and say, okay, what else? Who do you know? Who's doing this? Who's doing plays on this? Whatever. What program is in a college? That kind of stuff. And,
Yeah.
I've been blessed. I've written several books. And I didn't bring my books in here. Okay. To show you. But I had them out on my desk in the other room.
And you can put them underneath our Facebook page, underneath your picture if
Okay.
you want to. You're
Okay.
more than welcome to add it there so that people want to get more
Right.
into.
And they can go to my website and get them as well. Other than the one is on Amazon, the others I sell myself. But I started off with one book called Art for My Heart, which was after my art school. Which was talking about, I talked about visualization and healing your, and being good and doing for the community. So I've been doing this since, forever. And that book was, published in 2010 or something. And then in 2014 or something, I heard this whisper and it said, you need to interview these people. Like, what? Yeah. So I listened eventually and I interviewed over 200 people who I call creative activists, and it's, and some of them, there's audios on my YouTube page. And then there's also from 2021, I actually had Women Who Dare, where I interviewed them on Zoom so you can see them in our interaction. And so I've been doing that and sharing these stories, and it's been a gift to me. And I never know, but I'll tell you, the very first time I told my story, it was in the early 90s. Because I really started healing until after 1985. But the early 90s, I decided I went to a health club. I went to them. I said, we need more than exercise and diet. This is not just health. We need mental health. Okay, do whatever you want. So I prepared a program and I had a couple speakers and I told my story for the very first time in public. And my mom was there and she really had never put it all together, even though she knew. I told her, but I didn't tell her till I was 26. But yeah, and she said, oh, I didn't know all that. And so, because it was lifelong consequences unless you choose to make a difference and do it differently. You can be stuck in the past.
Exactly. Yeah. I walked into our organization, Brave Thinking Institute. I like to say, in fact, I even did a poem on it with a picture watermark behind it of a woman dressed all in armor. And the very first day of my very first Dream Builder Live, I had such amazing interaction. I felt like the armor just fell off of me. And I'm like, wow, here's a woman who treated me like a daughter in 5 minutes that I didn't have for 50 years before that. I'm like, there's something special there. I walked in with a suit of armor, and I walked out. I'm like, there's something amazing here. And when I enrolled in the Brave Thinking Masters because I wanted more of this, and within 3 months, she had completely fixed 8 years of therapy.
Well, let's not say she fixed. You were open to new ideas. And, I'm
Was.
just crying because that's what I have to tell myself. No one fixes us. We fix ourselves.
No,
That
I
was
was
infinite.
open. You're
Yes.
right.
Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to,
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. No, we don't need to be fixed.
Right.
We
And
need to be
whatever changes
open
we
to new.
make a choice to do it. And that's what you did,
Yes.
to open yourself. There was a book that was written by Eve Ensler. Do you know her? So she
I'm
did
not sure.
Vagina Monologues.
Oh, yes.
But she
Okay,
has
yes.
something called The City of Joy, and she's done all these different programs. But her last book, The Apology. So she wrote an apology as if her father was writing an apology to her for abusing her. And I was like blown away. And so then I actually wrote my own version of my grandfather giving me an apology and trying to understand through his eyes what he was doing and why he did what he did. And it was really powerful, and it's like, wow, it's definitely worth, looking at. And if you're into that kind of stuff, because it sounds like you are.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. No.
But it's a good way to, again, another way to heal with your family, and stuff, because you can imagine them from their perspective. What are they seeing and doing, and their fear? Oh yeah, that kind of thing. She's different. Well, what do we do with different? She's too much for us. I don't know how to handle it. I've been there, obviously. So
Yeah, you have. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't tell you that, but you know it. And
I
a
know
lot
it.
of my listeners know it because that's what they've come from. Also, there is a link, a very strong link between autism and CPTSD because our families didn't, especially those of us who are late diagnosed, because the word autism didn't come up until 2008, especially for women. 2000 for the guys, but 2008 for the women. So by 2008, I was a 40-year-old woman. I mean, come on. I had two children, and all I knew, and we learned this in our organization, you either design or default.
Right.
And because I chose not to raise my own two daughters the way my mother was raised, the way her mother was raised, that would be default. I decided to do everything the opposite of them and break the chain. I said, I'm not going to let this chain continue. And I honestly think I got two daughters to test me, to see if I would continue the chain. And I broke it, and I was so happy. And you were talking about when when you said earlier, I wanted to live for my kids. I'm like the same way. My girls are my life. In fact, they're coming tomorrow, so I'm really excited to see
Oh,
them.
yay. Well,
Yay!
I'm taking my family to New York next week for a week. I've been wanting, this has been on my vision board since 2018. That was before my youngest, who's 6, was even born. But I wanted to take everybody to New York. This is a big birthday. I'm going to be 75 in May. And so this is when we could go. And I want to be, it's the experiences, the shared experiences, the time. Yeah, I didn't have that with my family. It was do it my way or the highway, and all those kind of things. And yeah, it was, so I spent very much of my life like you, trying to be the opposite of my parents, and I think I did a really good job. Yeah, there are moments we've had our stuff, but
My dad was an enabler per se.
okay. Yeah,
He wasn't part of the he wasn't part of the pain, but he wasn't part of the solution either.
got it. Yeah. So,
Until he was almost about to go into memory care, and he turned to me and he gave me that last, you know how you always want your parents to say that one last thing before they can't? And he turned to me and said, "Wow, you're really smart."
all right. Yay.
And I'm like, "Thank you. Thank you."
Yeah,
It was
you
like,
want to be seen. You want to be seen for who you are, for your authenticity, for your gifts. I'm going to just share a real quick story. So this week was spring break for my 10-year-old grandchild. So I had the day with her last week, and we went up to the small town in Wisconsin, and we went, shopping because that's what she wanted to do. But we went into an art gallery because that's what I like to do. So she comes to me, go, that's what she calls me. Can you come here? I said, sure. She shows me a painting. She said, I think you'd like this artist. I said, I do. I own a piece of that artist's work. Then later on, she comes and gets it. I think you should look at this. You'd love it. I said, I actually own that piece. Talk about being seen by a 10-year-old and acknowledge. I
yes.
had a smile from ear to ear for the last, since last week,
Yeah,
just
she gets it. She
got
gets it.
me in a way that, like, wow. And then on our way home, she said, can we go to your house and do art? I said, of course, it's like, yeah. But it was like such a gift, and that's what we all crave. And I do think that's what really makes relationships work, is when we feel seen. And,
Yeah.
we don't always agree. We don't have to agree on everything. But if we're seen and somebody acknowledges us and says, yeah, you're doing a good job, or I see that you're in pain, or, I know you're doing the best you can, all that, or even they ask, what can I do to help?
Mhm.
Those are the questions I think that really raise the level of relationships.
Oh, definitely. I have a really I was living up an hour and a half away from here, and I moved back because my very best girlfriend, she's like amazing. She's there, and I feel seen with her. It's so wonderful. I kind of think I took mm, I'm like her little sister, where she loves doing it. And we get along so well. But yeah, she sees me, and it's so nice to be seen when others don't. Just going back to our organization, and one of the stories Mary tells is the fact that when you are having trouble with someone who is bringing some angst to you, find another person who might be able to bring in polarity. And I find that that often helps. And what that does is that it relieves the stress of the angst on the person you're having, the sacred friend, as we call it. And you find another person to pour your love and gratitude to, that can help too. And that brings me to my creativity is when I want to show love and gratitude because I didn't have it, that's when I started creating pieces of art to give to these people because our study is the more you give gratitude, the more love and gratitude you receive back.
Right, right. And there's a gift in giving. And I think most people don't recognize that. We're waiting for somebody to give us something, and they forget that there is a gift in just giving and being generous. And it doesn't have to be money. It can be time, a smile. I like I said, I like to go to the beach all the time, and I smile at people and I say, "Hi, how are you? Oh, what a beautiful day." Some interaction where I'm looking them eye to eye, and some people are like, "What? What?" There's so used to people looking down and just walking, without that connection. And that
I
doesn't
like
come
what
with
you just
anything.
said. I love what you just said. It's not about the money. And the one thing that I did get this last 4 months is, why are you doing that? You're not going to make any money from it. And I'm like, I'm not trying to make money from it. It's not all about money. Money is not the transaction. It is the love that is the transaction.
Well, this is what a transaction is, this conversation, that I'm getting to know you better, you're getting to know me better, that this is the gift, and that we can
Exactly.
share what we've done for our communities, for ourselves, to heal and grow, and that other people take away whatever they get from it. It's a gift. Before I got
Exactly.
on, we started, I pray, I said, let me be of service. Show me what it is that I need to say, to do, to be today, so that I can, help the most people. That's really what it's about.
It is. Do you do other crafts or other creativity besides drawing and
Oh, I do a lot of
scribbling?
photography. I started
Okay.
that more so. I'd always done photographs, but during COVID, that was the one thing I could do. I go out in nature and I take a ton of pictures, and I started sharing them like on Facebook, and people was like, wow, that's pretty
Mhm.
cool. So I've done that. I'm learning to do more crafts because I have grandchildren who love crafts, but I would not say that is my area. I My granddaughter had one of these. I gotten her one of these looms, with the yarn and stuff, my 6-year-old. And then I had to go on YouTube to figure out how to take it off because I couldn't figure it out myself.
I hear you. I hear you.
Okay, but for them, I will do anything. It's like I will learn these things. So that part, but I do love to write. I write a lot of articles, and I'm working on this show, and then I'm working on a workbook to go along with it and stuff. And I do workshops. So I am going to be doing a workshop in May. It's going to be on Eventbrite. You can get the information. It's called Scribble and Doodle Your Stress Away, which we're going to go into more time for exercises where I'll actually spend time doing these things rather than just quick comment, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
for all my listeners who go onto the Facebook page, the Aspie
yeah,
Bridge,
I will.
you
I
can
will.
look for the connection right there, right to her program.
Yeah, I will list that. And I think the other piece is as I'm, reinvigorating myself, I love to do vision board parties. And the other pieces, but I do them a little bit different. And one of them is a well-being vision. So it is more, it's like, are you going out in nature? Are you serving other people? Are you doing that? It's not just, again, like I said, about health, about weight and exercise, and diet. There's so many
Oh,
pieces to this. So that's, I think, will be the next one. I'm starting to put together lists, and as I was looking through all these old journals of mine, it's like, oh, that'd be a great workshop I wrote 10 years ago. Let's bring it
I'd
forward.
love, yeah, I'd love to do that well-being vision board. I'm sure we might be able to get a few others involved in
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm hoping. I would like to do that one in June. That's the goal. I'm doing the one in May, then do one every month, and stuff like that. But I think the well-being one, because it's, sometimes we don't look at all the pieces, and then we have to talk about, well, what are realistic goals versus, and I do believe in the atomic habits, that you do one little thing every day for just a minute or two changes it. So I have affirmations, wellness affirmations on my bathroom wall. And so when I'm brushing my teeth, I look at them and read them. It's like little things that you don't even think about. And when we get together in community and we share these ideas and we celebrate each other, it's huge. And I think now, I'm older. Like I said, I was going to be 75. They've done a lot of studies that people our age, the hardest thing is, yeah, we get pain, we get sickness, but it's being alone. We don't have the connections and support. People are dying around you, but that's what helps keep you healthy.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah, you gotta
definitely.
find a supportive group.
One of the things I do for individuals who want to help with my organization, but they don't want to take the coaching time, is I have what is called a bridge buddy. Because they're same thing with the autistic population. They don't want to go out alone. But if I could find someone in the area to say, hey, let's go catch a movie, or they just want the invitation, they want to know that they matter.
Oh, I love that. That is beautiful. What a brilliant idea. I love it.
Well, I would love to sign you up as a bridge buddy in Chicago if you don't mind, because there are so
Well, I'm
many.
here, Bill. I'm not in the city. I'm in the suburbs, but yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, within the area, I mean, maybe there's a way that we can do it. But what I would love to do is put up in local libraries and create a poster and send them all my guests. Hey, are you looking for a bridge builder, or are you looking for a bridge buddy? Connect with me, and I will connect you to the right people. Because there's so many times that these people, a lot of us will be stuck in our victimhood, which we
Right.
don't want. Now, I had to go back again, and I wonder if people are thinking I'm an ableist. There are so many things you can do to help yourself. And you can stay in the victimhood. You can say, I'm autistic and I can do. Or as Henry Ford says, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Do you want to stay in the victimhood of being autistic? Or do you want to find ways that you can improve? And I have all these guests like Rae, who will help you through the trauma of what you've experienced through creativity. There are so many different guests I've had on that can help you to rise above without feeling like you're going out of your comfort zone. Well, maybe there are others that might serve you better. I allow you to have 8 different bridge builders for a 2-hour session, broken up into 30-minute sessions. But what it does is it allows you to get the answers you need personally. And if you're someone who loves to be creative but just doesn't know where to start, Rae would be the right person to get going. And then maybe you punched a few too many pillows and realize it's not doing anything.
I did
Guess
that
what?
too. There's a woman who caught something called Radex. And so she had a padded room. And I would go to her place and she'd give me a bat and I'd be doing it. She'd give me all these exercises. So I totally get it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, I don't have my pillow right here, but this one, yeah. This one right here.
Yeah. Oh, I put a punching bag up in my basement, presumably for my 16-year-old son at the time. He never used it. I used it every day. Yeah.
I'm gonna go kickboxing, yes. But oh wow, this has been amazing, Rae. I so love the way you and I connect.
Oh, I do too. I'm just so excited we did this together and we can do it again another day. And, whenever you need me, I'm available and we'll talk.
That's great. And I love telling my autistic listeners, hey, I mean, but it's not just for the autistic demographic. It's just that this is the group I serve. I turn my mess into my message to help
Or
all
your
of you
masterpiece.
know.
It's your masterpiece.
Yeah.
You're
So
turning
that
your mess into your masterpiece.
to let everyone know that you don't have to stay on neurodivergent island feeling sorry for yourself because you have a diagnosis. You can say, yes, I'm autistic, and look at what I can do. And some of your best works of art will come out if you allow yourself the release, the peace. And yes, sometimes we have to go into our own space to get to where it's safe, to get to where our self-care is more important than whether or not someone wants us in the room with them because they feel lonely. They have to take care of themselves. You have to take care of yourself. And some ways to do that is to break free to a craft area where you can just use whatever medium suits you. And
Right,
you
you can
find
take clay and you can pound it till it's nothing. Or you can roll it and make a coil and say, this is a spiral of becoming. There's so many ways to use different materials depending on what you like. Some people don't like the feel of clay. Somebody wants to paint. I've done a lot with just watercolors and paints, and you know, you can splatter paint. You can, now I love this exercise, which I've used over the years with clients, was get a big, big wet sponge and just throw it against the wall. It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't have paint on it. It's just wet, but there's such a great feeling of release when you do that.
exactly. I mean, and when we think of art, art is everything. It's, as Rae said, it's dancing, it's music, it's poetry, it's crafting with different supplies. Creativity is creativity, whatever version you use. I mean, look at the story of Susan Boyle, who never got any attention until she opened her mouth with the most beautiful voice.
I remember crying when I heard her voice. It was like, oh my God, the angels. Yes.
Exactly. I mean, how you express yourself. We're not saying go out and buy crayons if you're not comfortable. Look around your house. You may have the supplies already. Maybe you're a trash to treasure. You like to take old furniture and redecorate it. That's still a very positive way to release your stress through a creative function.
Even journaling, I have one journal called Stuck to Unstoppable A to Z. So for each letter, there's 3 questions. That's a way of doing it. So, you may not be comfortable doing it, but that's still the art. And then the poetry, as you said, I mean, and it doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to do anything. This is about you and finding your path. And it will also change the way you work in the world because you're opening yourself up to, you're getting outside the, that rigid thinking, and it changes how you are in the rest of your life. And people need that at workplaces too, because we get into, well, we've always done it this way. Well, maybe we need to do it differently now.
Yeah, it's about changing your perception and changing your perspective on how you look at things. If
Right.
you're going to be like, and this is the big thing that has come up for me a lot for all my listeners out there. Do you want to be stuck behind the traits of autism, or do you want to rise above the traits of autism? And only you can answer that. Maybe it's serving you. We're not here to fix you. You're here to decide what kind of person you choose to be. Having Rae here is so awesome because it gets you to realize what relationships you want to improve. And that can be done through creative expression. Which ones do you want to bring love out more? That's another way. A lot of people don't realize that creating things brings love to you, love to them. And that's a big way to move through what you're working with and have a beautiful product on the other side, or a product for yourself. Don't forget to create things for yourself. So would you like to add anything else, Rae?
No, I think we've covered a lot of territory. A lot of people are going to be, they may have some questions. Feel free to reach out to me. We're going to have my website at the bottom of this. I'm going to send the link for this other program in May, and I'll, give you my email to reach out. So feel free. I am here happy to talk to you and help in any way I can.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. And for everybody, yes, you can leave comments here with the YouTube, or you can go to the Aspie Bridge Facebook group page join us. We'd love to have you in that community there as well. All of my guests have their pictures there. You can look for Rae's picture and she'll have the information about her programs that are coming up that you can get involved in, as well as all the other guests that have put information. So I want to remind you to join us there, because then it's even a more intimate community there. But for now, I want to say thank you to Rae for coming today. And I hope you join us for the next 3 months as we go through love and relationships. And don't forget, Autism Awareness Month is just that, awareness. And I'm hoping that people who watch this won't just say, okay, at the end of April, done becoming aware of autism. It is something that we need society to understand, that we have capabilities. Whether or not we can communicate through our art and through our smile, as Rae said. And don't discount anyone because they have challenges. Look for their gifts. And that's why I'm an enrichment coach. I help people find their gifts. And for now, I want to say thank you to everybody for coming to the Aspie Bridge. And I hope you'll come back next week and have another wonderful conversation. Thank you for coming.
Bye.